Hi, Jamie McIntyre here. I'm live in Los Angeles, California. I have a very special guest we're about to interview in just a moment. You may have first heard of this particular gentleman when you're watching a movie called Conan the Barbarian many years ago, or perhaps it was a bodybuilding documentary called Pumping Iron, or perhaps movies such as Terminator, Kindergarten Cop, or Twins, or when he was elected 38th Governor of California. Of course, by now, you know we're talking about the one and only Arnold Schwarzenegger. Let's go live and ask Arnie some questions. Arnie, we have some questions submitted. One here from Red Simons, ABC Melbourne. You've made it to the top in sports, Hollywood, business, politics. Which of those areas has been the most satisfying for you?
You know, I could not pick one that is more satisfying than the other, because to me, at each one of those, when I was young, 15 years old, to me the most important thing was to become the bodybuilding champion and to become one of the strongest guys and to bench press 500 pounds and all of those things. To me then, being a public servant meant nothing. So when I became the champion, the world champion, that was the most satisfying feeling. And then especially winning one championship after the other, and then winning 13 world championship titles, that was fantastic. But then all of a sudden I grew out of that stage of that being the most important thing, to be the most muscular man, and I wanted to get into movies. So then when I became, the leading man in the movies and the action star, and I made my way up to the top and, made over $30 million a movie and all those things, I then felt like that was the most satisfying thing at that point. And then I went into politics. So I think it really depended what stage I was in my life, but they all were very, very satisfying. And I would say actually being a public servant and being the governor of the state of California, because you're now representing 38 million people. And it's the 8th largest economy in the world. I think that probably on the end did become the most satisfying thing for me.
Critica Sarah from 21st Century News wants to know, do you learn more from your successes or failures in life?
I think it's very important that we learn from the successes and the failures, because I think that if I think about, when I look back at my bodybuilding career, all of the principles that I used were very important for me to win, and to win one championship after the other. I then used those principles that made me a winner in bodybuilding also in acting, because there were times where I needed to, get up again and continue on and not give up. There was times when I struggled and I had to learn from that. There was times where I had to really use team effort and not just rely on myself, which again I learned from sports. So there's endless amount of things of breaking the rules and all of those things, endless amount of things that I've learned from success in bodybuilding that I used also for the success in show business and also for the success in public service. But the failures, when you fall, you also learn a lot. And you also have to then kind of dissect that and analyze that, and then make you kind of take advantage of those kind of things so you don't make the same mistakes again.
AAP is questioning, because you're speaking at the Financial Education Summit in Australia, they said, is money a key to happiness?
Not at all. I think that money is very important if that's your goal. To me, my goal was, when I came to America, that I wanted to become, the top bodybuilding champion, get into movies, and make millions of dollars. Not necessarily from show business, but I got into real estate, and I started really reading everything and learning everything about real estate, and started, buying rental properties, apartment buildings and houses and stuff like that, office buildings, and I really started making my first $1 million. In real estate, not in show business. And the reason why that was important to me was because I wanted to become financially independent enough that I don't have to take crappy roles, because they offered all kinds of things, to be a bouncer, to be a Nazi officer, to be a football player and a wrestler, and all those kind of weird kind of things. And I wanted to become a leading man. So by being financially independent, I never had to really sell out and just take any part in order to make a living.
Ian Vale, Fairfax Media, asks, when you look at your time in politics, what do you think were perhaps any missed opportunities?
In politics?
In politics, yeah.
I think that my political career was very interesting, because I had some great successes, and then I had also some failures, as with everything else. And I think that probably in 2005, when I had the special election here, there was some missed opportunities. I think that I could have handled the situation better, brought both of the parties together earlier than waiting for 2006. I think that it took me a while to really understand the importance of bringing both of the parties together, even though I always was kind of post-partisan and bipartisan and all of those things. But I think that in 2006, it started really clicking, a year after my failure of the special election. And then I started bringing both of the parties together, and that's when we really accomplished the most.
Role models in life, who's perhaps been top one or two biggest influences?
I would say Reg Park, who was a three-time Mr. Universe and did Hercules movies. He was my early inspiration when I got into bodybuilding. But then later on, Ronald Reagan was a great inspiration to me in politics, and Nelson Mandela, and Mikhail Gorbachev. And in athletics, Muhammad Ali for his generosity. In acting, it was, Kirk Douglas and Clint Eastwood. Those were the big guys for me when I was a kid that I wanted to emulate and, be on that same level. And that's what I was striving for.
So, Arnie, you went from Hollywood to politics, and politics now back to Hollywood. Some people would say acting and being a politician's the same thing. How's that transition been?
Well, I think it's important to make people understand what that means, because Ronald Reagan also said that many times. And I think what it means really is not that when you're in politics that you should act as if you are interested in a certain subject or in a certain issue. But what it means is that you have to, in acting, the first thing that they always tell you is connect with the people. Don't just say words, but really mean it and let it come from the inside out and connect with the people, because that's how you bring the people in, and that's how you become a star, and this is how you become popular and all those things. And the same is in politics. There's so many politicians that stand in front of the audience and they just say words, and you don't even pay much attention what they say. And I think it's important that you really mean what you say, and that you're passionate, and that you don't talk down to people, that you connect with the people and get inside the people, and then you have them follow you and follow your philosophy and so on. And so I think that's the key thing. That's why there is a similarity in with acting and with being a political leader.
If they ever changed the US Constitution that you could run for presidency of the United States, would you ever consider that, and what would you want to change?
Oh, I have said many times that I would consider that, immediately, because I think it's whenever you are, again, shooting for the top. I mean, I always shot for the top. If it was in bodybuilding or if it was in show business, it's natural that in politics I would have shot also for the top. But that's not possible because the U.S. Constitution doesn't allow foreign-born citizens to run for president. And the interesting thing about it is that this is the land of opportunity, America. And everything that I've accomplished in my life, I think, was because of America. And of course, I had the will to work hard and all those things. But without America, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So running for president is really the only thing that I can't do. So I'm not going to complain about that one thing.
Well, thanks, Gianni, for your time today. We know you're a busy person. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.